What's up, everybody? It's Scott here from Aspiria Fitness Center. I'm going to guide you guys through today's mobility and more session. So I hope you guys are ready to get loose. This session is designed to help mobilize our lumbar spine. So we are going to be focused on our lower back and hips and all those muscles, our glutes and our hip flexors that all tie into our low back. So we're going to go through our first round, which will be some dynamic movements and some warm-up type stuff. Then we'll go through 2 rounds of a little bit of quick strengthening for that region, and then we'll finish with some static stretches and hold those positions so we can stretch out those muscles. So we're going to end up with about 4 rounds total. I'm going to step back here and we'll discuss what we need for class, and we'll just go ahead and get started. So all we need today basically for class here is what you see before you, which is very simple. We have a mat and I've got a riser here with me. So it doesn't have to be a riser, anything just kind of at bench height that you can sit on. So if you had an ottoman or a coffee table or something, we're doing our glute stretch this way. We can also utilize this later on in the round. We're going to do a hamstring stretch for our static stretch at the end, so we can do that seated, leaning forward. I do have a band with me just for that reason, for our hamstring stretch. If you're like me and you have trouble getting down to your toes, we're going to loop that band right around the foot, and then that's going to help us with that stretch. It doesn't have to be a band, so you can use anything you've got. If you've got a towel or a t-shirt handy, just something that you can loop around there, any piece of rope or anything you got. So just need that for one stretch, just to loop that around our feet. And of course we can do that from the seated position as well. So grab something like that if you've got it, even a belt or whatever would work, just something that you can wrap around your foot. And of course I've got my water bottle as well, so we'll want to make sure you can take a quick break and grab a drink if you want. So keep that water bottle handy. Other than that, we've just got our mat, our riser, one strap if you need it, and then we are just using our body weight for most of this stuff here. So we're about ready to go. We're going to go through these exercises in timed rounds. We've got that set up for about 48 seconds. It's just going to give us a little extra time, and then we have a 12-second transition. That shorter transition time will just keep us from sitting around waiting for that timer to start. So most of these are similar, split between left and right side, so we don't need a ton of time to shift around. So that 10-12 seconds should be perfect. Just enough time to resituate yourself if you need to make any adjustments, and then we're going to go ahead and take it away. So our first round of 12 exercises here is our dynamic movements, or our active type exercises here, designed to help getting us loose and get some movement and motion in the muscles. So we're starting in our tabletop position. We've got hip cars. These will be familiar to some if we've done any mobility classes with me before. So we're here in our tabletop position, and our knee comes out, and then we drive that hip and knee back, and then we pull the knee straight back to our starting position, and then we reverse that motion backward, open up the knee, and then bring it right back down to the start. So try and keep your core active a little bit here, so we're not rotating too much at the hip, but we're going to do that on left and right sides respectively for the whole round, so that the same leg is working through the whole round. So get yourself a nice base with your hands and knees, and we're going to get ready to start. So whichever leg you start on, right or left, it doesn't matter. We're just going to switch it when we hear the timer. So we're about ready to go here. We've got those hip cars ready, and we're just going to start. That's going to mobilize our hips, our lumbar area, inside of our groin and everything else. So we're going to go ahead and take it away right off the bat here in 3, 2, 1, and our timer has begun. So we've got that first round of cars where we're opening up that hip, driving our knee back, and coming back into the starting position before we reverse it all and open it back up. So go nice and slow here, explore that range of motion. Feel like we're feeling anything kind of catching, a little bit of tightness anywhere through that circular arcing motion we're making there. That may be giving you an indication of somewhere where we have some tightness or something like that. So pay attention here, take it nice and slow, work through that range of motion. We're going to got about 15 seconds left, so keep it moving. Really try and drive that knee up and around on the outside arc there, so we're really feeling like we're opening up our hips and low back here. One more time all the way back to the starting position, and there's our beeps. So we're going to hear that. Let's turn that down a little bit. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going to flip right around, and we're going to have this, my active leg is going to face the camera now, so we're doing the same thing, out to the side, drive that knee up and back, and then we're scooping that knee right up under you, moving nice and slowly through that range of motion, feeling the movement, feeling that anywhere where we have some tightness in through that movement or anything like that. Hopefully we're feeling pretty loose. We're going to keep it going 30 more seconds on this movement. So keep driving that knee up, get that nice big circle as big as you can. Really feel like we're making our hip socket work here as we explore this range of motion and feel that movement. So 15 seconds left. We're going to get one or two more all the way up and around. And we'll move on to our next one here. So one more time, drive that knee out, and we're going to finish the round right back in our starting position. Awesome. So right for the next one here, we're staying right where we are in our tabletop. We've got our cat-cows, and this is going to help mobilize our abdominal section as well as our low back there. So as we arch our back and lower our stomach to the ground, we take a big breath in and hold it for just a second, and then we're going to drive our back up to the sky, really feeling that stretch, and we blow all our air out. And then we just repeat that for the round. So arching our stomach down, expanding that stomach cavity, and then we arch up to the sky. Feeling that, hopefully getting some movement in our lumbar spine and our low back as we arch here. And then we drive our spine up to the sky. We have that rounding of our back a little bit there. Don't forget your breathing. Big breath in on the way down. Blow your air out on the way up. And we've got time for maybe one more here. And we're driving up to the sky as our time expires. Great job. We're going to do quite a bit in this position here. So we're starting one leg, whichever one you want. We're doing our adductor inner thigh position. So this is familiar for many of you as well. We kick that leg out, and from here we just slowly rock back onto our heel. So we feel a little stretch on the inner thigh. Make sure that toe stays pointed forward. We want to target the inner thigh, and if we open up that toe, we're kind of changing the focus a little bit. So toe stays pointed forward, and we're just rocking back gently onto the heel. We don't want to bounce, so I don't want to see you slamming your hips back onto the heel. We're just slowly working through that range of motion. It might feel pretty tight. The farther back we go, the tighter it is. So we're just gently working through that range of motion, getting some activity and some movement in the muscle, and we're going to take it from there. We've got just a few seconds left. One more. Work through that full range of motion, sitting all the way back, coming all the way forward. All right, great job. So we're going to switch it to the other leg. So remember those principles. We don't want to bounce, but we do want to stay active and moving through this whole portion, and we got to keep that toe pointing forward. So as we just sink back, the farther back we go, we feel that tightness. So we're working through as much of this range of motion as we can, coming forward here and sinking way back. Of course, as we sink back, we blow that air out, and that helps us achieve that end range of motion. Hopefully you can get a little farther each time. If we're feeling particularly tight here, we want to make sure we keep that toe forward and just work through the range of motion that you have, doing your best, thinking about exhaling and just increasing that end range of motion a little bit every time if you can. If we're pretty tight there, just be gentle. We don't want to bounce and slam our hips back, but we do want to try and keep this motion going, opening up that inner thigh, which can release a lot of tension off our low back here. So good, and we're going to keep it moving on to the next one. We're going to lay flat on our back here for the next exercise. Feet are going to be flat on the ground, but we want to open up our feet a little bit. So my feet are at about shoulder width here, and then we hang our knees down to each side. So feet are right outside my mat width, or right outside shoulder width. So my knees are not together. We have plenty of space in between here. And we're just going to alternate, turning, and letting those knees hang. So we should feel a nice stretch across the front of our hip, getting some action in that hip joint, and we also maybe feel a little pull on our low back, which is good. We want to work on that lumbar spine, so we're helping to do this. Hips and low back are obviously very closely intertwined, so as we get more range of motion in our hips, we're a little bit better off for our low back as well, right? So we want to make sure we're utilizing this, opening up those knees and dropping that knee inside as far as we can go, feeling that stretch all across the hips and low back. One more shift quickly. Good. That round went by fast. We're going to keep it going down the line, and we're flat on our back in that same position, and we're going to pull one leg up here. This is starting for our hamstring. So one leg pull up here. You can hold on to the back of your thigh, and we're just going to kick that toe up to the sky. Starting to feel some tightness in the hamstring as far as we can go. As you can see, my hamstrings are quite tight. They don't allow me to get that full leg extension. Hopefully they'll loosen up a bit as we go through this round, but we're just working on kicking that leg up to the sky, toe up there, so as we kick, the farther we go, the more stretch on the hamstrings. And so this is going to get a really great opening stretch on the hamstrings for when we're getting ready to do this static stretch later on. So kicking that toe, keeping that range of motion going. We got 10 seconds left on this leg. Feeling like the hamstring is working already just from stretching, right? Just being in this position. We're getting a nice stretch on it, kicking that toe up. One more kick. Good. And we're going to switch legs. So we lay the other leg flat. We'll pull that other knee up toward our chest, and we can, of course, lock those fingers up if you want back behind your knee to hold on to that leg so we don't have to rely on our hip flexor to do all the work. And we're kicking that toe straight up, trying to get our leg as straight as we can. Like I said, you might have to work on this one. It's tough. My legs don't like to cooperate. I've got a lot of tension in these hamstrings, and they don't like to cooperate. So we kick as far as we can go. We've got a great stretch going. It's not that they're not getting stretched, they just don't like to fully extend. So that's something I work on frequently. You'd be surprised to know that based on what we see here, but we're working through it. So anyways, if you have tight hamstrings, don't worry, it's quite common. It's a nice, strong, big muscle there. So we just want to do our best to work through this motion here and get some movement in the muscle as best we can. We've got less than 10 to go, so we're getting a couple more kicks in. Then we're going to keep on moving down the line. Good, so hamstrings are getting active. We're almost to the bottom of our warm-up group. We're going to the half kneeling position, and we're going to do a complex for our hip flexor here. So we're going to go into 3 different positions. We've got our bottom glute squeezed here, so we have this tension on our hip flexor there, and we lean forward, and we're going to open to about 45 degrees, and then we're going to go wide, almost to a full 90, and we're making sure that we're following our toes and knee with our body and our torso as we go. So when I'm out front forward, I'm leaning straight forward, keeping this glute active on the bottom knee. When I'm here, I'm kind of tracking that 45-degree angle, and of course we open that nice and wide. Then I'm going to try and just shift my body to the side rather than turn my chest. And we're just working through that. We've got about 15 seconds to go, so we can pick up the pace if we want here. Just make sure this glute's staying down, so we're working on the inner thigh and the groin on this side of our downside knee. 5 seconds. Let's see if we can start one more. Starting to feel that hip loosening up a little bit, right? All right, great job. So we're going to switch it to the other side. So remember, we got to squeeze the glute on this knee that's down here, and when you do that, we feel our hips scoop underneath us. We've already got some nice tension across our hip flexor there. And our timer starts. So again, we're just leaning into it with our torso, tracking the same way with our knee and toe. We're leaning about 45 degrees there. And then we go way out wide, and we really are shifting to the side at that point rather than going in any direction with our torso. So then we're just going to keep working through this. Keep that bottom leg glute squeeze. We feel that pull right across our hip there. And we're working through this complex. Open it up, and now see we're shifting a little bit to the side. So we really feel that opening up on the lateral portion especially. And we feel a little bit more on the front of our hip, right, as we go through that front lean. And then we get a little bit of both on the side on that 45-degree one. So from here, we're really hitting the inner thigh there. We got 10 seconds to go. Let's get through one more time. We're back to the top. Let's open it up. 45 degrees, sinking that way, and then one last one out to the side, really opening up that inner thigh. Awesome. We're going to finish up our last one with the glute complex. So we're seated up on our bench or your ottoman or your coffee table or whatever you've got. We're going to kick one leg up here. So now we've got our complex that will be familiar to some here. We've got that foot kicked up. We try to keep our back flat. We lean forward. Then we're going to pull that knee up to an opposite shoulder, and we're going to keep working through those, hopefully feeling like we're getting a stretch in our glutes and opening up our lower back a little bit as well. So keep alternating this movement. Hold it for a second or two if you can, if you've got it. As far as forward as we can lean. We don't want to force it and round your back, so you can be pretty tight there, and that's totally fine. Just working through the range of motion as best you can. Wherever you've got. Hopefully that's increasing as we go through the movements here. Almost there. We're ready to switch. This is our last exercise on our dynamic portion. We'll go through 2 rounds of some strengthening and whatnot of these muscles in our core, and we'll finish with our static round. So we're We're going to go to the other side, so we're leaning forward, feeling that pull, and then we pull across our body to the opposite arm. I'm a bit tighter on this leg and I can feel it, and that's totally normal. If you're feeling like you have an imbalance, just something to take note of, not something to be too worried about. Just want to make sure we work on the mobility on the side where it's kind of restricted a little bit, right? So I do feel a much bigger pull on this side, so left glute and left hip are not cooperating as much today that the right side did, but that's all right, we're working through it. And I do feel like we're making some progress as we go through this. So hopefully you're feeling the same thing. If you started out tight, you're feeling like a little bit, you're getting a little bit more throughout these motions here. One more big pull across, and we're gonna finish it up with a lean. There we go. So we're feeling nice and loose, hopefully in your legs. So we can come up here, shake these legs out, take a few quick sumo shifts if we need to, right? We're feeling how much more mobility we have in these hips. So we're gonna go through 2 rounds next of some strengthening a little bit for our core and hips, these muscles here, mostly designed for our core and glutes. A little bit of everything though. And then we're gonna keep on moving through that back round of our static holds again, of course, one more time. So we're gonna go through a couple rounds here of our static holds, which we're going to start with a pelvic tilt. And so what that looks like is we're going to be flat on our back, feet are flat here. So if you have an object you'd like to place down here, that's great. Otherwise, we're going to use our hand. So you can go hand is palm down, and we're putting that right in the small of our back there. And what we do for this portion of the round is we're just going to aim to squeeze our core, and we're trying to flatten out our lower back and just push. Imagine if my hand was on the mat, in between our mat and the back, and we just want to smash our hand down into the mat or into the floor, whatever you've got. So if you had a small towel or something you wanted to roll up as well, this would help to cue you to engage our core, and we're feeling that slight rounding in our low back flatten out, and we're going to help feel that relief in our low back. So we're going to go through a few rounds of this here. That's our first one. Then we'll do planks, bridges. We're going to do a bird dog, and we'll do a modified side plank on each side to help us just keep enforcing that strength in our glutes and hips and everything else. So let's go ahead and start. We're starting with that pelvic tilt. So we're flat on our back. Get that hand under your low back there, or a towel or something that you can feel like we're smashing against, and that'll help cue you. All we're doing is engaging that core, and that's going to help flatten out that low back portion there. That's our pelvic tilt, and we're ready to go in 3, 2, 1, and clock is ticking. So here we go. We're running through the pelvic tilt, so we're flattening that hand down into our back. So squeeze that core. We almost feel our butt maybe lift up off the mat just a little bit. We don't really want to go into a full bridge, but our glutes may lift off the mat just enough as we're flattening and smashing our hand into the mat. So your hand is a great cue here if you don't have a towel or anything else. You may not need one at all. You may feel comfortable just flattening out your low back, which is fine. If you want to have the hand there, I kind of like it. It just gives you an idea of how hard you're pushing and how much we want to focus on really just smashing that hand. We should be feeling some tension release in our low back as we do that, as we engage our core. So hopefully you're feeling that. One more big squeeze and hold and relax. Good. So we're going right on into a plank from this one. So we're strengthening that core and glutes and everything else here. So classic plank, elbows and toes. If you'd like to take a tall plank, you can do so, but we're going to take it right away. Our timer is starting. So we've got an active core here, making sure that our forearms are parallel along with our elbows and shoulders being stacked. We're up on our toes. So our quads and glutes and everything got to be stuck nice and tight here to maintain this rigid plank. So try and start with the elbow plank here if you can. If we need to move up into tall plank, you can do so. All of the same principles still apply. We got to keep everything stacked. Our core is very active, our glutes and everything is active as well to maintain that nice line from our toes to our shoulders. We got about 10 seconds left, and we're going to keep on holding here. And there's our timer. Nice job. We held that plank, and we're going to keep on going. So we're going to flip right over onto our backside again, and we're marching this time. So feet are in that same position. Arms out to our side, and we're going to bridge here. I'm sorry, I said marching. We're going to bridge. If you'd like to modify, and add a little challenge here. We're going to help the bridge and keep our core active, and we're marching through this bridge. And we're going to feel that really working our core and our hip flexors and our low back, everything that we're targeting today. And of course, if you fatigue or we're not comfortable with the march, we're just going to hold the bridge, or we can do the bridging reps and just focus on getting a big glute squeeze and feeling that working hard. We're going to continue the march if you got it. So don't be shy. Keep marching. You can always start marching, and as you fatigue, take a break. Just want to make sure we keep these glutes really active so that we don't start sagging. We've got this nice line, as you can see, all the way from my shoulders up to my knees. Finishing at this marching round, and there's our break. Nicely done. We're going to go to our bird dog, so we're flipping back and forth on each side. Bird dogs are here, back in our tabletop position. So from here, we've got to engage the core, of course, and we're driving our heels straight back and our fists straight forward. So we want to avoid kicking that leg way up here as we see that arches in my back. That's no good. So driving that heel and fist straight back, we should have a nice straight line, and our back stays nice and flat here. Core, of course, is active, like we already know, to help keep that lumbar spine safe. We're working through this as quickly as we can go without sacrificing our stability. So if you're feeling wobbly, we maybe need to slow it down a little bit and just focus on really engaging that core and locking in this nice solid line like you see right there from fist to toe. Good, so there's our bird dogs. And now we're onto our modified side plank. Very simple modification to take some pressure off our hips and back. We're just gonna have bent knees here. And then we're planking on elbow and bent knees, and we're just holding here. So make sure to get that arm off your hip. Rest it right across your chest here or up in the sky. If you feel comfortable taking a full plank, go right ahead. This is just gonna help focus right where we want it, right here on the hip, without putting too much extra torque and pressure on our low back and hips. So knees are bent, feet are together. They're at about 90 degrees, and we're keeping the glutes squeezed to keep this nice rigid line. And of course, like always, my elbow and shoulder are stacked, and I'm feeling underneath here, I'm feeling my nice big lat muscle active, which is helping keep me stable as well. Big part of our core, and our lat muscle does go all the way and attach at the back of our hip there, so that we can feel that in our back all the way down from our hips and low back up into our mid back. So keep holding on, and all right, we're gonna go ahead and flip it over. And we're doing the same thing on the other side. So we've got our second round of our plank. So same principles, we've got our elbow and our shoulders stacked. We can feel our big lat muscle working under our armpit there. Glutes are squeezed nice and tight here. So bring my hips forward, and we're feeling that stability all the way from our elbow and our shoulder all the way down to our knee. Again, if you feel comfortable in the full extended side plank, go ahead and do it. This is just going to help us focus on our core and our lumbar spine and our glutes a little more than having those legs kicked all the way out. So you can always kick your top leg out if that's more comfortable for you as well, but we're keeping the pressure close here on our hip and knee without going into that full plank position. So we're going to get ready to go here. And after this, we start right back at the top. We've got our pelvic tilt. Relax, good. So we're going back to the pelvic tilts. So we're flat on our back here, feet are flat on the ground, just like our bridge position, but we're now slipping that hand or our towel back under the mat. And while we're doing is engaging our core, we feel that ever so slight lift maybe in our glutes, and we're just smashing our hand into the mat. So you should be able to feel the palm of your hand on the mat, and the back of your hand is in between your back and the mat, and then we're just pushing down just enough to feel that pressure. So hopefully that'll relieve some of that pressure. Again, you can push down onto a towel or a small throw pillow or something if you've got it. Anything that can fill up that little bit of neutral space in between our lumbar spine and the curve, just to give you something to feel like we're pressing down on. And keep engaging that core and squeeze it. This is a great one to relieve some of that tension in our lumbar spine that we get. So from there, we're back to our plank. So let's lock up the plank. And we're going to go ahead right back on our elbows and toes. And we've got those shoulders and elbows stacked. And again, we're on our toes at about shoulder width for a nice stable base. And we're holding on to this plank. We're locking it in. We can come up into tall plank if we need to, right? But we're just keeping on squeezing. We've got our quads working hard. Our glutes are squeezed as well. And of course, we've got that core tucked in, staying nice and active. We're staying strong. We've got 15 seconds to go, so keep on holding on. Come up into that tall plank if you need to. Try not to quit. We're working really hard, squeezing everything. Our plank is a great full body exercise, not just for our core, right? 4 seconds, keep holding on. And relax, nicely done on the plank. Hopefully you guys are feeling like we're working a little bit. We're going back to our bridging, so we're flipping back over on our backside here. And here we bridge, and don't forget that march, right? So we're bridging up. We've got our core and our glutes working really hard, and then we're marching now. And of course, if we don't have the march today, just hold on to that bridge and just work through some big squeezed bridge reps. Come back to the march if you can. Take a few paces and reset the bridge if you need to. However you can do it to try to achieve that march, that's going to do great for us here. And if you can't do it, that's okay. Just take the bridge for what it is and try and do your best with the bridging portion. Otherwise, we're marching away. We're almost done with this round. We're going to keep it going. Good job. We are done with the bridges, which means we're back to our bird dogs, focusing on our core, stability over speed here. Good, so we're going, making sure we get that heel kick straight back through the wall behind you. We don't want to kick it up. Keep it neutral in the low back by keeping that leg straight back. We might feel like if we kick our leg up higher, it's doing better, but that's not what we want, right? We want to keep our lumbar spine neutral, and if we kick up too high, we're extending our lumbar spine too much, and that can be bad. So we're focused on fist forward, heel straight back, core is tight. We're making that nice, perfect straight line from our fist to our heel. We got about 10 seconds left. Switch it up here. Keep switching. We're almost there. We've got one more set of those side planks. Good. Onto our side planks here. Remember, we're doing that modded portion, so knees are bent here. We're going to go elbow and knee. Squeeze those glutes to bring you forward. Maintain that nice rigid line. There's our timer. So we're up here, and we're feeling that nice tight area in our armpit there. Again, we've got our lat. We can feel that. Our elbow and our shoulder are stacked, so if we're feeling like we don't feel that tightness in our lat, we might want to adjust our elbow position. We may be too far out or too far in to really utilize the strength of our lat to help stabilize our back. So make sure you've stacked your elbow and shoulder. Check underneath that armpit. Feel your big lat muscle activated. And we're holding on here. We've got about 15 seconds. Fatiguing a little bit on the side. Do your best to hold it the whole time if you can. We're going to switch to our other side. Keep holding on. Remember to relax that arm across your chest or up in the air so you're not forcing your hips down there unknowingly. Nice job. One more side plank. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to run through our active round 2 more times, or one more full round, however you'd like to describe it. All right, so we're back up on our side plank here. So we've got that glute squeezed, especially on the bottom leg. We've got to keep it nice and tight. And again, we're feeling underneath for our big, powerful lat muscle that's going to help stabilize us. Elbow and shoulder are stacked, and if they aren't, that's maybe why we can't feel it. So make that adjustment if you need to. And of course, you can kick your top leg out if it's more comfortable. We got the pressure focused on our lower plant leg there. If you are comfortable taking that full side plank, you can go ahead, but this is a modification that's going to help us just focus where we want it here on the knee, or I'm sorry, on the hip and the low back when we have that knee bent, and that's going to keep it from causing any extra pain in our low back as we work through here. So keep holding on. 5 seconds to go. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Nicely done. All right, we're halfway through our active round, so that was a double round of 1, or that's 1 full round that we count the 12 exercises. So we're going to go ahead, take a quick break here. So we're getting a little sweaty. We're working hard, right? So don't be afraid to wipe your sweat off. Grab this drink from your water bottle there. We're going to go through our active rounds. So that's 2 more times of each exercise. So 2 more pelvic tilts, 2 more planks, so on and so forth. And then we've got 1 round of our static holds to get us stretched out even better. Hopefully you guys are starting to feel like your core and glutes and low back are releasing a little bit and getting a little stronger. So grab your quick drink and we'll be ready to start here any second now with our second active round. Keeping our core working hard. Everything is working hard, right? So glutes, core, and hips are doing the majority of the work today. We are getting that lat muscle active, which again, our lat connects all the way from the back of our hip all the way to the back of our arm. So that's a huge back muscle, back stabilizer. If we have tightness on our lat, we can feel that in any way, right? It can be pulling our hip out of alignment. It can be pulling on our shoulder. So really important to make sure we're focused on stacking that correctly and making sure that our lat is doing what it needs to do. So hopefully you guys can reach under there in the side planks and feel that. There's a huge stabilizer muscle. Most folks think of our core as just being right here, but our back is part of our core as well, and that includes the lats to get some nice big stability all the way through our torso and our midsection. So we're ready to go. We're back to those pelvic tilts. Hopefully you guys are able to feel that on your hands as we're pushing back. We're squeezing that core and flattening out our back. Hopefully that's feeling good for you guys. And we're going to go ahead and start that again. So we've got our pelvic tilt. So grab that towel or your hand or whatever it is you're using to smash. We're going to take it away here in 3, 2, 1, and our clock is ticking. We're getting ready to smash those palms again. So I've got both hands back there. It feels nice for me. It gives me a nice cue to know how hard I'm pushing on something because we can feel it on your own hand, right? So we're not really lifting our butt like a bridge, but we do feel it just come up ever so slightly as we get that spine into a flat position there. So keep squeezing your core. It is a little bit harder than you think, right? When we get to really squeezing it, we're feeling our core working, but it does feel great on our low back here, right? As we get some of that motion in our lumbar spine, we're really isolating just the movement in our lumbar spine portion here. So mobilizing this area can be great for that low back pain and whatnot. So one more big squeeze and push. Smash those palms into the mat. Great job. And we're back up to plank. So keep those plank principles in mind. We've got to have a nice stable base with our feet and elbows, and we're squeezing and staying active all over our whole body here. So we're in this nice rigid plank. Everything is working hard. Elbows and shoulders are stacked. Hopefully your forearms are parallel. We don't want to clasp those wrists together. So let's do thumbs up to the sky. Palms down on the mat will help you from clasping your wrists together. Palms down can help you feel a little more grounded on the mat if you'd like to do that. And of course, we're up on our toes, core is tucked in, and we're squeezing glutes, and everything is working nice and hard here. We got about 15 seconds left. So we're gonna hold on our third plank of 4 today. We're working hard on the core. Make sure we squeeze those glutes, right? So we are nice and rigid. We don't wanna see our low back sag in here. That's not the point, right? We're here to strengthen that low back. So good. Plank is all done. We're back to our bridging. Adding in that march if you've got it today. Otherwise, we'll stick with the bridge, hold, squeeze some of those reps. All right, so we're bridged up here and we're marching just slowly. No rep count on the march at all, of course, right? We're just getting the motion in our hips and we're squeezing and keeping everything else nice and tight. So remember to march if you've got it. You can always march a few paces and hold. Don't be afraid to reset the bridge if we need to, right? So reset the bridge, squeeze back up again, and continue to march. We're marching away, almost there. One more march rep. Good, and a break. So we're done marching, which means we're back to our bird dogs. Making sure we don't sacrifice our stability to go fast here. So speed is not the goal. Staying as rigid and straight as possible is the goal. So please do not just try and hammer out these reps in the name of getting more reps done. We're focused on driving the heel back, driving the fist forward, and keeping ourselves as stable as we can throughout the whole process. So if we need to mod here and just do kickbacks only, we can do that as we start to fatigue, if we're feeling a little bit of that fatigue in our upper body or anywhere. Until then, we're just driving, squeezing that core, staying tight, heel goes straight back to the wall, fist is straight forward. Good, there's our bird dog. So we've got one more side plank on each side. We'll repeat the whole section one more time, and then we're onto our static holds to finally relax us. So remember these modifications, we're on our knee, and we got our lat really active. I can feel it nice and strong underneath that armpit. We can see I've got this nice perfect stack right here. So adjust your elbow position if we need to feel that lat. Otherwise, we're feeling that contraction all the way from our armpit down to our hip. And of course, we're not going to weigh ourselves down, so let's keep that arm across our chest. Don't be afraid to sit back and reset the reset the plank here if you need to. So just reset, sink into it, allow your hips to relax. Hopefully you're able to hold on. We're still squeezing away here. 10 seconds to go. Almost there, we're feeling it. One, and relax, good. We gotta switch over to our other side, and then we're gonna run through those 6 exercises once more before we finally get our stretch and cool down in here. So here we are, back on our other side. Big bridge up. Don't weigh yourself down, don't make it harder on yourself. You can kick that top leg out if you want to, of course. Gotta make sure we keep our glute active on that lower leg to keep us stable, so we don't want to let the glute go and hang down, right? Keep that glute squeezed. Everything is tight. Feeling underneath for that lat in our armpit. It's working hard to keep us stable. We appreciate it. We like to check on it and feel that it's working there. Keep on holding. Don't weigh yourself down. Get that arm up in the air or across your chest, right? Just a reminder for that. You got 15 seconds. We're holding strong. We're starting back at the top of those pelvic tilts in 10 seconds or so. One more round through, and then we're finishing out our static stretches to call it a day. Hopefully we're feeling nice and loose in our lumbar spine here. One, and relax. Nicely done. Let's get back to those pelvic tilts. We're smashing our hands down into the mat one final time here. All right, time to start going. Clock is ticking. We're just squeezing core enough to flatten that hand out. So we don't really want to lift up off the ground. We're just flattening the hand. So hopefully that feels like we've got that nice little bit of mobility in your lower back. Nothing else should really be moving. So hopefully you're feeling that get a little more mobile and feel like it's helping you out a little bit there. This is a great one to do at all times. A few times a day, do a couple sets of this. Again, a nice dish towel or something rolled up into a little ball is perfect. A hand towel, something just enough to give yourself something to squeeze against. And then you'll know that you're really pressing and doing it right when you feel. That's why I like my hand, but you can do whatever you've got available to you. And there's our break beat, which means we've got one more plank. We got to hold it strong. We're getting a little fatigued. We're working hard on this core and midsection here, but we got to hold on to one more plank. So let's get up and do it. Don't forget to have that stable base with your feet. Our elbows and shoulders are stacked. We've got our palms facing down or thumbs up to the sky to avoid clasping our wrists together so we can keep our shoulders in a nice, strong, safe position here. And we're squeezing away. "20 seconds to go. Don't be afraid to come up into that tall plank if you need to. Keep that belly button tucked. Keep working hard. Glutes are squeezed here. Quads are tight. Everything is working hard. We got 10 seconds left. It's our last plank. Finish it out strong. Don't quit. Keep fighting here. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Nicely done. We're on our way down the line. Back to our bridging. And for our bridge, we're right here, arms out to your side, right? And we're bridging up. Hold on to that position, big squeeze in the glutes, and we're marching. So don't be afraid to re-squeeze that glute every time. So the glute should be really active on your plant foot. So every time you switch feet, gotta squeeze that opposite glute to help keep yourself nice and rigid in that bridge. And of course, we're dropping down, resetting the bridge, or just going into some bridge reps here if we need to, but we'll focus on the marching, keeping that glute squeezed active as we can, driving our knee up during the march. We're almost there. Keep it going. Just a few more movements in our active round, and then we're finishing out our static stretch. There's our break. Awesome job. Back up to one more set of bird dogs and one more side plank on each side, and then we're going to get our static stretches in here. 2, 1. Bird dogs are taking it away. Remember, stability over speed here. We don't really care how fast you can go. What we do care about is how strong you are in that position. So if we're wobbling, we're not strong enough, we want to slow it down and focus on that stability. So hopefully you can do both, right? We can have a little bit of speed to get some reps in and have that stability, but our main goal here is stability, so just focus on driving in the straight line and keeping that belly button tucked. Our core is really active here. 15 seconds to go. We're almost there, which means about 90 seconds worth of work total left for us here. Awesome. All right, one more set of side planks on each side. Lock up that elbow and shoulder. Feel our lat working. Bottom knee is bent at least, if not both. Here we go. We're up into our final side plank on this side. We're feeling for that lat that's under there. That's good, and that just cues us to put our hand right here and keep it out of the way, right? Glutes are squeezed, especially that knee, the glute on our bottom knee there that's holding us up. We've got to keep that one really active to maintain this nice line you see here. We've got this nice triangle between my knee, my shoulder, and my elbow, and we're holding on. Don't forget to rest that arm across your chest. You got 15 seconds. Reset the side bridge if you need it, or the side plank here. 8 seconds to go. Keep holding. You can finish it out. 5, 4, and relax. Awesome job. One more set. We got to get side planks on the other side here, or side plank, one side plank rather. On that elbow, knees are ready to go, and here we are squeezing. We're feeling that right under our armpit, right? We're working hard. Knee is down on the mat, and we're squeezing that glute, of course, to keep ourselves nice and rigid. Again, we've got our triangle here, so we've got our elbow in stacked, which I need to move my elbow just a little bit there. I can feel that lat a little better. I was tucked in a little too far, so now we've really got that nice triangle that we're working on here. 20 seconds to go. We're going to squeeze. Reset it if you need to. Kick that knee back into position. Lift yourself up here. We got 10 seconds to go. Keep on holding. And we're going to get our static holds in to get a nice long static stretch and cool down in all these muscles. And relax. Awesome job. We're going to take just a few seconds here. We're going into our static stretches, so one more round of each. We got about 12 minutes of stretching. Grab your drink one more time if you need it. We're going to start right here, flat on your back, on the mat. So grab your quick drink, and we're ready to relax and recover. So we're going to start on our back here, and our lumbar shift position, just like we did for our active round. We shifted our knees to each side, but we had our knees open right outside the mat, right outside shoulder width. And so we're going to bring those together now, and we're just going to hang to one side, and we're going to just stay there that whole side. So we feel that whole stretch on our hip there. You can push your knees down a little bit and open up your chest all the other way. We're just going to hold that, and we'll flip sides. So we're ready to hold that in 2, 1, and go. So we're hanging down here, trying to keep our chest as flat as we can, or I'm sorry, our back flat, so our chest is up toward the sky. And we're just hanging those knees off to one side there, feeling that stretch, relaxing in our low back a little bit there, pulling on our hip. Staying there here. Take some big, nice breaths in and out. Just focusing on our breathing while our low back hangs to one side here. 2 to 3 seconds in, 2 to 3 seconds out. We're almost there. Under 10 seconds. One more big breath in and out. And there's our cue to switch. So take a few seconds here. Back up to center, neutral with our feet and knees together before we hang to the other side. There's our countdown. Perfect. So we're ready to hang now. We're just going to hang those knees to the side. Might feel some movement in your lumbar spine there. Hopefully that's good. We're feeling a little stretch still across the top of our hip, on the top side at least for me. So you may notice that as well. Feeling like we're breathing in and out, feeling where we're tight, where we're loose. Maybe it's changed over the course of the class, hopefully so. Just working on focusing on that slow breathing. Slow breaths in and out. One more big breath in and out. And relax. Nicely done. Coming right back up to center here. From there, we're going to flip on over to our other side. And we've got a Cobra Stretch here, our Cobra pose. So we're going to tuck our toes underneath us. We're starting off in like a tabletop and tall plank, and we sink our hips forward. Big squeeze in the glutes here is going to really release our tension from our low back. Then we're going to take a breath in and drive our stomach forward. So we have that nice stretch on our abdominal cavity, and we're still squeezing the glutes, right? So we feel that pressure releasing off our low back a little bit with that really nice glute squeeze. So hopefully the harder you squeeze, the better it feels, right? So squeeze those glutes, big breath in. We're really feeling that low back relax here. 15 seconds to go. Keep holding. Squeezing those glutes, less than 10, almost there. We feel like we really released our low back, right? We're not quite done yet. Almost there. And relax, nicely done. We're gonna go back to our adductor, or our inner thigh position here where we kicked our leg out. And we're just gonna sink back and hold this time. So make sure that toe stays pointed forward. Sink back onto your heel as far as you can go comfortably. And from here, we're gonna hold it for the whole round. So throughout this round, we're focused on our breathing here. As you breathe in, we take a big breath in, and every time we exhale slowly, 3 to 5 seconds, we can sink back, hopefully a little bit farther onto our heel, and we're really feeling the stretch on the inner thigh there. This can help alleviate some of that back and hip pain. So 20 seconds to go. Reset it if you need to, of course. But we're not moving through this range of motion today. At this point in time, we did that to start. We're just doing the static stretch now. 10 seconds left. One more big breath in. Exhale that air. Sink back onto it one last time. And relax. So we're coming forward just slightly. Pull that knee back under you and switch sides. Again, we're not bouncing or doing any dynamic movement for here. We would never want to bounce, first off. But we're not going to move through that range of motion much either. So we're sinking back to where we feel it tight. Toe stays pointed forward. And we feel that tight stretch there. And we're just focused on our breathing now. Inhale, slowly exhale. And as we exhale, we blow our air out. We can get down into that stretch, hopefully a little more each time. Big breath in. Don't be afraid to reset if you need to, so you can come forward and sink back onto it. We're just going to try and maintain the stretch as best we can here, though. Big breath in and out. Got about just over 10 seconds, so think about one more breath. Inhale, and we exhale, and we're really sinking, sitting back down onto that heel. And relax. Nicely done. We're going to go back to our tabletop kind of pose, and we're going to do a child pose, and this will help stretch out our spine and back like we've been working on here. So hands and knees, we get those palms out in front of you. We sink back onto it, onto your heels as best you can. Let your head hang right down the middle of your arms. And we're focused on our breathing here as well. So Feels nice and relaxing on our low back, but probably everywhere on your back, right? We've got that big stretch in those lat muscles that we talked about. And we're just hanging our head. We're about halfway through. Big breaths in and out. Just feeling our hips and low back relax here. One more big breath in and out. 10 seconds to go. Sink onto those heels. Feel the stretch. And relax. Come right back forward into that tabletop position. We're going to go from here onto our hamstring stretch. So we're going to pause our timer just for a second. We got to get by ourselves in a few seconds here. So 2 options for the hamstrings. You can be seated like we were for the glutes, or if you have it, you can get your band, or maybe you don't even need the band. You guys saw my hamstrings earlier, so I definitely need the band. And we're just going to loop that right around the ball of the foot, right? And then kicking that leg out straight, and then we're going to lean into it as best we can. So you can work your hands up on that strap to really help you pull it in. So we've got our 5 seconds. Our countdown is going to get started there. So there's our timer for our round. So we're working our hands up on that band or whatever you've got as far as we go. So I'm not even close, and I feel a really tight pull in my hamstrings. They just do not like to cooperate. So hopefully you guys are a little more flexible than me in the hamstring region. We're working hard on it. We work every day on these hamstrings, and they don't care. We're still feeling that stretch. So again, as the round goes through, you hopefully can work your hands up on that strap, whatever you've got, or if you don't even need to, just really sink forward onto that leg there and do your best to feel that stretching. We got 10 seconds left. We're going to switch to the other side, and then we've just got a few more to go, and we're all set today. So we're finishing out, stretching here. Good. We feel that nice tension. Man, that feels great on the hamstrings. Even though we didn't feel like we stretched very far, we got a great stretch in there. We're switching to the other side, kicking that other leg out. We've got our loop set. I'm even less flexible on this side, if you can imagine that. We're going to still try our best, though. We're working toward that strap. Focus on our breathing here, so we're doing big breath in and out. And as we breathe in and out, hopefully we can get a little farther on those exhales and work your fingers up that strap as we gain just a little bit of range of motion every breath, right? Blowing all that air out. We got about 15 seconds, 1 or 2 breaths in, feeling the stretch. Hamstring is really mad. It doesn't like this, but we're stretching anyway. Almost there, last breath. And relax. All right, that's it for the hamstrings. We're going to our hip flexor here one more time. We went through that full range of motion, and now we're just going to stay on the hip flexor in one position here. So knee is kicked up. We've got that bottom leg squeezed, our bottom glute is squeezed right inside. Now we've just barely leaned forward, and we've got a great stretch on our hip flexor. We don't want to arch our back here. Again, we want to keep that lumbar spine neutral. So we do that by just squeezing the glute, and that already applies the tension that we need on our hip, which means we don't have to lean very far back. We probably don't have to lean hardly at all. If we've got the glute squeeze, we already feel it, and then just ever so slightly shifting our weight forward really applies the stretch on that hip flexor. So there's absolutely no need to crank back on our low back here. All we got to do is make sure we keep that glute squeezed here, and then we just slightly shift our weight forward, and we've got a really nice stretch on the front of our hip flexor there. So hopefully you guys can feel that. We got another chance to feel it on the other side, so let's switch. We're in our home stretch here, just a couple more exercises. So we're putting that other side up. Got to squeeze this glute, guys. Remember, we're going to feel our hips kind of scoop underneath you, and that's what applies that stretch. I just felt it right there. It feels great. And then, of course, no need to crank our low back at all here. Core is active and just like we want it. Low back is flat, and we've just shifted our whole weight just ever so slightly forward, and we're feeling that stretch on the hip flexor and maybe all the way down into our quad as well. We do have one of our quad muscles that crosses the hip joint, so we can get a really great stretch in by doing this right here on that top portion of the quad. So you may feel that as well, and maybe a little bit all the way down in towards your knee as well. So that's just some quad tightness there, and that's totally fine. We got to work through it here, and that's why we do this stretch, hip flexor and quad at the same time there. We just got to keep that glute squeeze, so hopefully you guys are doing that. Core is tight, back is flat, everything is great. We got 5 seconds to go. We got one more set of stretches to go through here, and we're doing that right on our backside, so we're sitting on our behind. We call this one the Supermodel Stretch, or I call it that anyways, of course, where we kick that foot on the other side, and we're pulling our knee. So get that heel way up by your hip as best you can, and we pull that knee across our body to the opposite shoulder. We've got a really great stretch across our glute there. And of course, if you have it, we call it the Supermodel Stretch because you can get that elbow there and really crank on your knee and get some rotation in your lower spine. And then of course, we imagine ourselves here sitting on the hood of a Trans Am. That's my bad joke. Sorry guys, gotta get a bad joke in for class here. So we're feeling that stretch, right? We really cranked that knee. And of course, if we don't have the elbow, we just focus on keeping that pull, feeling that really nice stretch on the glute there. We got 10 seconds. We're switching to the other side. We got a 48-second stretch over there. And then we are all loosey-goosey, feeling good. And there we have it, our last break. So go ahead and straighten that leg out now. You kick that foot over to the other side. Make sure you hike it up as far as we can go. Get it way up there. And then we're pulling across to the other way. So left knee is coming across to my right armpit. And we're holding it. Again, if you've got the range of motion, you put that palm down behind you and really crank on it a little bit so you can get some rotation in our low back and spine. But if you don't have that much motion, we can just focus on giving your knee that big hug today, right? We've got that big glute hug. We're pulling across. We got 25 seconds to go. Feeling a great stretch across the glute and a little bit on the low back. Everything is entwined there, so we're loosening up one thing. We hopefully can loosen up a lot of things, right? Final 15 seconds. Get a big last breath in and out. Blow all that air out and really pull. Give it yourself that last 10-second huge squeeze, big pull, big hug. Finish it out. Feel like we're relaxing the glute there. 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Awesome job, guys. That is all we had for our rounds. If you'd like to relax here, just come back to our position here flat. We can go back to some of those knee shifts and just feel like we have a really nice loose lumbar spine and low back and hips now. So hopefully you guys can continue exploring that motion on your hips there. That was a great session. I'm glad you guys were here with me today. Hopefully you guys were able to explore some of those movements and feel like we opened up those hips and low back. So hopefully that works for you guys. I had a great time teaching this class. It makes me feel great as well doing these movements. We all need a little love in our low back, and especially my hamstrings here needed it today. So I'm glad you guys were here with me. Please shoot me a comment or a like on our page and let me know what you thought of class. Hopefully you guys feel great. We'll see you here back in the fitness center soon. Until then, we'll catch you here same time, same place for our strength, mobility, and Dirty 30 classes. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.